I think all of us really want to do something for others and want to feel like we are contributing positively to the community. But most of the time, it's very hard to plan around our lives. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's good. Yeah, interesting times for everybody, I'm sure.
I know. What time is it there? I know you said it was going to be early.
It's 7, so
Oh my
not,
goodness.
no, it's fine. It's fine. The kids aren't awake yet. And you're in Pittsburgh, right?
Yes.
Amazing. Look, this is a conversation. I'm really looking forward to hearing a little bit about your organization, as well as what you're doing during these times. I've been following closely on social some of the things. So tell me a little bit about yourself and I guess how you came to build 412 Food Rescue.
I grew up in the Philippines, moved to New York City after college, and really kind of, idealized, America when I was growing up in the Philippines. And I've always, wanted to live in New York, bright lights, big city. But one of the things that I realized, soon after moving was that, it's not quite, the first world country that we read about. It's not perfect because I definitely saw all the poverty and the strange dichotomy, especially in a city like New York, of the haves and the have-nots. And kind of stayed with me for a long time. And then in 2012, I read this report that from the National Resources Defense Council that in developed countries, 40% of food is wasted. Growing up in a place where, we eat everything root to stock, nose to tail, and I just felt like there was a need to do something about it.
How do you go about building an incredible organization that has done such huge, I guess, success in the community with regards to food wastage? So, walk me through that origin story of seeing this problem and then taking it to action.
I started out in advertising. I worked for a consumer goods company, and it was a fantastic time. And I learned all about how advertising works, why I buy the things I buy, why I prefer certain brands, and it's not really anything to do with me. It's everything to do with how something is positioned to me personally. And then I went into technology after that. I truly love technology, truly love how fast things can move. And then the third bucket of my experience is food. I've always been, I was a food writer. I dabbled as a food writer on the side for a while because I love food and restaurants. And it's just bringing this all together, the kind of the core ingredients of what Food Rescue Hero and 412 Food Rescue is. It's technology that, works within, the food supply chain and a big understanding of how that works. And really, because its goal is to mobilize people into action, it's really all about that art of how to make people understand that this is an option for them that speaks to them and is something that is convenient and they can do every day. And so it's all about selling doing good. As much as we want to be, the people who can go somewhere and build a home for Habitat for Humanity, that's not always a reachable goal. But there are many moments in our lives where we find ourselves with an hour. And it's that constant reminder on their app, on their phone that, there's this opportunity right now. There's this opportunity here, Sarah, 5 miles away from you. You're going that way anyway. Oh, look, we know you're in a grocery store. There's food to be rescued there. Why don't you take it? It's on your way home. And we one day will catch you in that moment where you're like, oh, yeah, I have an hour. I'll do that.
Sounds really fun as well, the way you've just described it, like really almost gamified, right?
It
Like
is, yes.
So like once it's been identified where the locations of these potential food access or food waste might be, how do you then pair it with the location where it needs to go?
Yeah. So in the same way that we partner with grocers, we also partner with charities and NGOs on the other side. So once we know that, grocery store A has surplus food, we match it with the appropriate agency that's close to them. And so that way it won't be inconvenient for you, who's delivering the food, because typically there's agencies everywhere. And, there's no shortage of agencies that will accept food support, because they always serve people who are experiencing one hardship or another. And if they could, alleviate one hardship, which is food, then they would do that for their clients as well.
During these times with restrictions now for a lot of individuals, how has this really changed the way that you run the organization? Walk me through some of the changes that have occurred so far.
Yeah. So the biggest change we've done is that we have enabled our volunteers to deliver to homes. So now that people aren't mobile, they have to stay home, especially the most vulnerable, seniors that are food insecure. They can't even go out to a food pantry to get food access. So we actually have enabled our volunteers to, you can deliver to someone that's, close to your home that you may not even know needs food support.
We already knew that there's a huge problem. How has this pandemic exacerbated or at least highlighted some of the inequalities where you are right now?
We don't even know where to begin with. The unemployment rate in the United States, it has gone up from between 4 and 5% to now about 13 to 14%. That's a big jump. There's 22 million Americans that are now without jobs. What is amazing, though, is that across the board on all of the cities that we operate in, we've experienced, increases in app downloads and volunteers by, 300%. In Pittsburgh alone, where I am, we had 1,200 new volunteers just in March. And that's a lot of people wanting to drive food to people.
Before all of this happened, I heard that you were looking to, and you might still be looking to, I guess, bring your services and organizations to Australia. What does that next stage look like in terms of the growth of your organization?
Yeah, so we're looking for partners in cities that want to bring it to where you are. We now operate in 6 cities in the United States and Canada. Definitely looking to serve other cities in Europe and Australia and of course the United States as well. So, until we get a vaccine, that everyone will remain to be in some level isolated and distanced. So this is the one volunteering that you can do that is by yourself. There's no need for groups. It is also doesn't require any contact at all. So it's an extremely safe way to volunteer. And there's so much need out there that I think, all of the cities that can do this should be doing this.
That's fantastic. And understandingly, because you are a technology solution, that scalability can commence immediately by the sounds of it. There is no restrictions, right?
No restrictions at all. We can have everyone going in a couple of weeks.